So everyone, welcome TJ to my podcast. I've been wanting to start a podcast for months now, and finally, with his help, I managed to actually start my first ever podcast. And I've no name for it. Maybe we call it Podcast with Shaun. And so today we have a special guest and his name is TJ. He's my first ever guest. TJ, maybe you can actually share a little bit with the audience, like who you are, what you do, and maybe a little bit context, because I know you quite well. We have done a little bit of business here and there. We have gone out for drinks as a friend, but I think the audience will be like, okay, who is this guy? Like, what do you do? Where your background? Maybe you can give like a short 3 to 4 minute context to the audience.
Sure. I think it's nice to start with how we met. So Shaun started out as a client before he became a friend. I think he doesn't mind me saying that he also owns part of Alter Seat. So that's how our business relationship began. Alter Seat began doing some content with us. Soon after, I got to meet half the brains behind Alter Seat. Turns out to be this brilliant person right here. Very nice guy. And then, turns out this dude had a marketing company as well. A performance marketing company. And I'm not trying to subtle plug here, but this is actually how our relationship started. I had to speak to him almost every day to get reports from on like my clients, because turns out some of my clients are his clients. Then through our regular business communications there, we started becoming friends. And here we are. In terms of a little bit of background about me, I am TJ. I run a creative content creation company in a sense, or an agency, so to speak. We primarily specialize in commercial production as well as UGC production, which is how the foundation of our business relationship and friendship began. Soon after, I wanted to expand into more areas of business, like other ways to offer better services, especially in Malaysia. So that's why I started this podcasting. That's why we're having this podcast now.
So actually, I want to know, always people all call you, like all your team, myself, clients, friends, we always call you TJ, right? What does TJ actually stand for?
So TJ stands for Tianjun.
Tianjun.
The problem with Tianjun is that it only sounds good when you use the Chinese, the Chinese pronunciation, but you can't expect everyone to use that. And after having your name butchered for like a good 5 to 6 years, I think you kind of come to the realization that you need something easier lah.
So I'm actually quite curious, right? I think people also want to know, right? See, like, because both of us, we are just like, compared to a lot of people out there, we just started our career, right? Especially starting, like, we are actually at the starting line of our business, right? Where, be it my marketing agency or my furniture company, similar to you, right? For Seesaw Creative. How did, for some context, right? TJ used to study law. How did you manage to actually transition from wanting to be a lawyer to like, hey, screw that, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore, and I want to jump into the creative industry? Because that is so super different. Like, you're going from North Pole to South Pole. So what made you want to switch?
It's an interesting story, actually. So my dad was always the reason why I became a creative, and so is my mom. My mom and my dad run a legacy creative agency. They specialize more in physical media, so buntings, posters, billboard design, all that. But because of that, my mom has always been artsy, and my dad has always been into certain areas of the creative field. His hobby was what started it all for me. He's into photography, and you know how like every son wants to get closer to their dad by finding a similar interest? Like, you kind of want to assume the interest of your father so that you can talk to him about more things, right? Beyond just the things you like, you can talk about something your dad likes.
Like share a common similar interest.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because of that, I tried to see if I like photos. So I took his cheaper cameras, his cheaper lenses, and I started taking, and I realized there's so many things you can do with photography. It's not just photos of people. It's not just photos of birds, which was what my dad liked. And from there, I started discovering my own interests, primarily in photography.
So your dad was also a part-time like photographer. That's his passion lah.
Yeah, it's like a hobby thing lah.
Okay.
So from there, I started joining the photography clubs in school. So in Form 3, I was in the photography club. Form 4, Form 5, I was also in the photography club. So that involved me like just shooting, your sports days and all that. And that was all still photo. Never touched video before. Right around that time, cameras started getting fairly advanced. It could shoot 720p video. Doesn't sound like a lot, now. Now we have 8K, but 720p was a big deal on like those shitty little DSLRs back then. And so there was one trip I remember in college. I went with my friends to Penang, and I brought a camera mainly to take photos. Then I realized like, oh, if you turn this knob, you can shoot video.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, we just try lah.
So like the magical knob, like when you turn that from photo, you go to video.
Yeah, it goes into video
Okay.
mode. And I don't think I've ever turned that knob before because I never bothered with video.
Okay.
And I was just thinking, just for fun, I will just record all this footage and I'll just keep it in a hard drive somewhere. Then maybe 20 years from now, we look on it. It's a very fond memory, ma. It's our trip when we were 17, you know. You know, back then, not many of us could drive. I think only one of us could drive properly. So he drove us to Penang. So I documented that whole thing. It was like a vlog. But I never wanted to cut it together. It was just supposed to be for memories. One day, I want to find that hard drive and go like, hey guys, do you remember this trip from so many years ago? Then it evolved into like after I saw all the raw footage, I played back all the raw footage in front of my friends. We all enjoyed it. I was like, maybe let's elevate the experience. What if I put it together? I cut out the bits that not so interesting. I put it together. Just all the funny moments. Maybe that would be nicer to watch in 20 years. Then that was when I started learning how to video edit. I used, I think, iMovie back at the time.
Yes.
It was very basic. But even that, I was kind of trash. I just clicked all the default titles, you know. I think because we went to either Penang or Redang. I just put the name. I was like, wow, you know, there's words on my video. Then after that, beyond words, what else can I add? Music. And I added music. Back then, I was very into EDM, so I put some Z song or something. Then that whole video, from raw footage to finished footage, looked so different. And that's when I started realizing you're not just creating a memory, like you are documenting and you can repackage it and sort of you can turn it into something else, something more presentable and something definitely more fun to watch. It will evoke the same memories with the people you experience it with, but it will definitely evoke different feelings with a random person. Because I showed it to my mom, she was like, I can feel like your friendship, she said. But if I just show her the raw footage, you know, just a bunch of clips in a folder, I don't think she would have felt the same. So that was college. Now after that, I had to go uni. I decided to do law. I think to answer your first question first, I decided to do law because I was bad at math. Like I was bad at further math and all that. I never bothered to try. I had no interest in biology, so I can't be a doctor. That's ruled out. So in the Asian parenting guide to what you should academically strive in, you're either an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer. You're either in the utmost highest end of mathematical sciences, which is engineering, saving human lives, or you fight people for a living. And I was the type of person that liked to fight people for a living. And I also, to be honest, I didn't have any other prospects. Like I would much rather do law. I also watched a lot of Suits.
I see.
Then because of that, I was like, wow, their life damn good. But this whole time, I think it never really brought me joy. I just knew that if I kept going down that road, eventually I would have a good life, a good career. It was the safe option. So I went to uni. And when you go to uni, because I went to the UK to study, you have access to a lot of different parts of Europe for very little money. You can take the train to places, your flights are £25. And I brought a camera. And then that was when I really started taking videos. I was travel with the same group of friends, now just different country. I would take videos and I would cut them together. Every trip I made, right up to I did this for 3 years straight. Every trip I went on with my friends, I would make one vlog. And it was those. Now it's a bit cringy because it was, I think looking back on it, it wasn't my best work, definitely. But it captured the memories and it looked cool and there was fun music, there was sound effects. That built my basis and understanding on how to video edit, how to tell a story. And what was nice about it was because it was very honest. Yeah. I wasn't doing it for anyone else but myself and to show my friends, hey guys, look, this is, because I would be that one annoying friend that has 2 cameras strapped to them. And he doesn't know how to enjoy the moment. And we go out makan, right? It's just me holding the camera, oh guys, hey, don't eat first. Let me just get everything.
Camera eat first.
Camera eat first for everything, bro. And that brought me so much happiness. It got me through law school because law school was very rough. Law school, you're forced to. Well, to me, I felt very forced because I just didn't have a passion for it. I had to memorize a lot of things, which I'm sure everyone else does in uni. But it kind of sucks knowing that you do it in a very 不甘愿 way.
So basically you do it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, you're doing it
You're
for
not
the sake
doing it
of
because
doing it.
you yourself want to do it.
Yeah. So I did it just so I can get a good grade. I actually wanted to drop out in first year. My parents said, you're already in first year, you might as well finish until third. So okay, I finished until third. I got a second upper just to prove to them that I could. after that, I honestly really didn't want to do law anymore. But my parents were like, you're already in third year, your friends are all going bar school. You might as well go bar school. Then I was like, okay. I went. Bar school was rougher than law school. That 1 year trumps my 3 years in law school. The stress and the COVID that hit during bar school, it made me super anxious. It developed a lot of weird mental issues.
So what's the difference between bar school and law school?
Bar school is practical. Law school is theory. So bar school, you learn how to fight in court. You learn civil procedure. You learn criminal procedure.
So it's like internship for lawyers.
Internship is separate. I also did an internship. I did an internship before bar school actually. But what you learn in bar school is it preps you to really
for the real world.
be able to go to court. You know, it's not just what you read in a book, because sometimes you read a lot of theory and philosophy in law as well, especially in undergraduate. But once you go to bar school, everything suddenly feels very real, very fast. And you realize how hard the real world of law actually is. It's not so fun anymore. It's hard to find anything interesting. So I wanted to do certain things on my own terms. In bar school, I took an internship at a design consultation startup. And it was started by my friend's boss. My friend was his PA. The boss used to be the editor-in-chief of Wallpaper magazine. So he had a good taste about things. I would say he knows his shit really well. He was just, if you ever see this, Tony, I'm sorry. He was just quite unpleasant to work with. He would belittle people. He's a bit old, very conservative. So he was a bit racist, so to speak. I wouldn't say he taught me a lot about design. He taught me how to have a very keen eye for detail because he scolded me a lot. But who really taught me was the senior art director. His name was Joe. His name is Joe. He's doing very well for himself now. And I knew how to use Adobe Premiere very basically in a very normal way. That's just video editing. What a lot of people don't know is video editing spans so many things. There's video editing, there's color grading, which falls under it. It's part of post-production. There's also motion graphics. That was what Joe taught me. I went in raw as hell, not knowing how to do anything, just knowing my stupid YouTube tutorials, which I didn't understand. Joe would sit down and teach me the fundamentals of After Effects, which made me actually quite good at motion graphics now. And he did all of that in 3 months.
Wow.
I could only survive the internship for 3 months because after that, bar school got so busy. I would work 2 to 3 days a week on school days, but it was like a school day where the class, I didn't have to go to class. I just needed to prep for the rest of the days. So I would go to work in the morning and I'll come home and I'll do my law school work. That became very unsustainable, especially when it came around to Christmas time because January we had exams. So I quit. But I learned a lot from the experience, and I was still doing my travel vlogs then. And back then also, I was very into photography, like film photography. That also helped me understand a lot of nuances. Like when you do film photography, it's a very honest thing. You cannot edit it. You cannot change your settings so much.
Yeah.
You have to understand the camera, understand the way everything behaves. And it really helped my fundamentals. So, back to the whole thing about my parents just saying since you're at this stage, you might as well do that stage. I finished bar school. I passed the bar and I got the equivalent of a second upper also. Once I'm back, my parents you already did bar school. You might as well go and do your pupillage. And that was when I put my foot down. I said, no, I cannot anymore. I want to do what I want. So I cut them a deal. I made a deal with them. If I can make as much as a pupil, freelancing, for the next 9 months, because a pupillage is 9 months, then they will lay off my back. And
so pupillage is basically
it's like
prerequisite before you become a lawyer.
It's like chambering.
So you have to work there for 9 months.
Yeah.
Do you get paid?
Yes. Pupils were making 3,500.
3,500. Okay. So continuing, you were saying that you cut a deal with your parents, saying that, Mom, Dad, if I can earn as much or if not more than what an average pupil earns, please let me do what I want to do.
Yeah. So if I can sustainably do it for the next 9 months, it's not just 1 month, 3.5, then I can continue already.
For sure. So so you are back in Malaysia now.
I was back in Malaysia.
Okay, so how did that go?
First month I made a grand total of, I think between 300 to 800 ringgit.
Okay, what year was this?
This was
it before
3 years
pre
ago.
or post-COVID?
It was the first wave of post-COVID. Then the minister thing happened.
The MCO 2.0, then the 3.0. So it was around 1.0 to 2.0.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my During COVID, obviously, it's a bit hard to start a business or start anything in COVID, but I had friends who also just started businesses. So I signed very small retainer deals with them, like $800, $500 a month, or maybe maximum also 1K a month, and unlimited deliverables, anything they wanted. I didn't know how to protect myself back then, it just started. And my freelance stuff, $300, photo shoot, unlimited revisions. That was how I got my start. I don't think I saw like a 4-figure number until my third month, or maybe my second month was a low 4-figure, like 1,000 plus. Then my third month was 4,000 plus because I got a drone job. I would do everything on like whatever.
So basically, you're like a freelance production crew lah. Like
I was an all-in-one.
So basically, if I want video, I want photos, I want a UGC, whatever, you do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I took a drone job. It was a site mapping for a developer.
Oh, okay. I'm very aware of this. Yeah.
So I'm sure you know how much site mappers
exactly.
actually charge, right?
Yes. Like 5 to 6 figures.
I took home $4,000.
Okay.
But I was so proud of that because that was the first time I made good on my deal.
I think you did really well though. Because like I think a lot of people will want to charge like 5 figures or 6 figures or what other people charge. But you said like I want to make a name for myself. And I want to just go in. And this is something that I enjoy also. Why don't I enjoy at the same time I get paid? I think what you did was like perfect.
Honestly, it was also because I had no conception of a 5-figure project back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I didn't know that number can exist. Yeah. I thought like a few thousand is already a lot for them. They are a developer. In retrospect, I should have charged more. That job went on for 3 months. 3 months of work for 4K. But then after that also, the nice part about doing creative work, your work gets put up for you sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially now with UGC, my work is everywhere. Like any ad that you see from Outer Seat or High Blender, there's a high chance that it's something that we do in-house. We never really have to sell ourselves for this kind of work, especially for social media content, it's the same. And so word got out, I got more and more jobs. And I think by my 7th month, I started making, like when I hit my first 10K profit, I think that was when I told myself, this is it lah, my life peaked already. Like, I'm there. And then after the next month, it went back down to 5,000. Then it also gave me the reality that life is not constant law. It's always up and down with business. You just need to learn how to take it. But I closed that first year of freelancing fairly well. My second year, I didn't want to freelance anymore. I incorporated. So I started getting like very short-term contractors. That was when Seesaw Creative was born, January of last year, actually.
January of 2022.
Yes. And from there, one thing that really opened my eyes to everything was a man called Jared Chua. He's also the owner of Knitskin.
Jared.
So Jared came to me with a proposition. He said, I want you to do all the deliverables for my new brand called Knitskin. They sell body groomers and everything. And I was like, okay, that sounds damn fun. I love doing branding. Back then I was in this design mindset, I wanted everything I touched, I wanted to turn into marketing goal, quality extremely high, like, almost like unlimited lead time. Everything is just perfection. Jared said, no, you can't have that. What I want is UGCs and my copywriting and my deliverables, my website photos. Website photos can look very good. I'm like, okay, nice. What are UGCs? He's like, okay, let me show you an example. And he showed me this damn shit iPhone video. And he was like, this is what a UGC should look like. Then I thought, okay lah, the bar is so low. I'm gonna raise this like crazy. So I go and shoot one. It wasn't even a UGC. At that point, it was just like a fairly decent piece of videography content. And I expected Jared to be like, hey man, this is crazy. Like you've gone above and beyond my expectations. He was like, you didn't meet my expectations.
Oh.
UGCs are not supposed to look like that.
Yeah.
And that was when the truth set in. UGCs are not supposed to look pretty. They're supposed to look honest.
Yeah.
And
so you overly polished it.
I overly polished it to the point where the ad couldn't do well because it didn't look good.
Yep.
And that was like, and over the next few months of me being on retainer with Jared, he really taught me like, bro, it's not about the quality, it's about how you write the UGC. The substance of the things matters so much more than how it looks. And you can genuinely shoot it on an iPhone. And I was so reluctant. Like he often brings it up. He was like, back then you didn't want to shoot on an iPhone. You were so, snobby. Now I'll just shoot UGCs on an iPhone.
Yep.
And because of my experience with Jared, after that I got a few more retainers. But my peak of like really entering the e-commerce market really came in the tail end of the fourth quarter of 2022. I signed on Dream Diffuser.
That's where I met you too.
Yeah, man. End of last year?
Yeah, right.
I thought it was start of this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it was through Dream Diffuser. Then I realized there is this like e-commerce, not club, but there's a group of e-commerce people existing in Malaysia that occasionally get dinner once in a while. Fun fact. He was part of it. And I started getting calls really, really soon after that. Like entering the first quarter of January of 2023, Hi Blender contacted me. Andrew was like saying how he needs UGC, and I was recommended by Jared and Michael of Dream Diffuser. Shaun from Autoseed contacted me saying how he heard stuff about me from Andrew, Jared, and Michael, and the ball just kept rolling. Fun fact also, turns out me and Andrew were in the same bar school. He also took a completely different route. But yeah, that is... Then the retainers just kept coming, some kept going, but generally that's how I got into the UGC business. But all this while, I've never let go of commercial production, which was what I was also doing when I was freelancing.
So maybe like one thing which I'm quite curious about lah, like you work with so many different brands, so many commercials, everything, but maybe you can share like one pivotal moment, right, from your personal background that you believe it has very huge significant influence on the creative approach and also the success in your industry. Like maybe there's one specific moment that happened that made you who you are today in the creative industry. Like what is there like a moment that you, when you think back, you always remember like that because of that moment? Just at the top of your mind. Like what made you become so passionate in what you do? Because like when I work with you for the past few months, when I see you work with your clients, right, I can always see that, because I work with like Autoseed have worked with so many different service providers and agencies and vendors and everything. Majority of them are business owners, businessmen, or it's very transactional. Whereas working with you is not so much transactional. Yes, the money, the retainer and all that is important, no doubt. But we can really see that you put a lot of heart, soul and effort into it. So how did that come about? Like what?
I think it's because I don't think there was a key moment, but my work has allowed me to realize that every creative is only as good as their work. You can talk up a big game about the returns on ad spend you can get for your clients, or just in general, like the engagement you can get on a video. You can talk a big game about all this. By the end of the day, the client's going to ask for your portfolio. Because those numbers are not for someone of my capacity to handle. Because your work is you and you are your work, you want to present yourself in the most presentable way possible. And because of that, I'm a very critical person when it comes to what I put out under my name. With UGCs, there's a certain standard that I hit. I try not to go beyond because of what happened with Jared, like I said. But with production as well, like I am very critical because I know that, yes, while this video may not do well for the client, there's a ton of factors contributing to that, by the way. It's not always just the creative problem. I am going to post this piece of work up after they post it or whatever. And other people are going to see it. Other people are going to develop an opinion about it. I would like that opinion to always be good.
Okay, very fair. Yeah, so I think like that's all for the first segment where we talk about yourself and talk about how you actually got into the creative industry. So maybe now we want to dive a little bit deeper. Let's have more depth. So I want to talk more about the client servicing side of things. So I think a lot of agency owners and people who deal with clients and services would benefit from this segment. So maybe the first question would be like, so both of us, I think this is where both of us can give a lot of input. We deal with a range of clients, right? Whether it's agencies, products, service, MNCs, SMEs, whatever, can be very challenging because they have a lot of expectation, right? Maybe can you share a specific instance where you have to navigate differently according to the client's expectation, and how you find a common ground in delivering client success? Maybe because you have so many, right? Maybe you can just share one, example that maybe an interesting story that someone can actually like gain something out of it. Because you have so many. You can just pick one, anyone. Like just now, I think earlier you shared about Jared. Maybe for now you can share something, I don't know, something that...
Less than pleasant lah.
Yeah, perhaps. I think people tune into things like that because maybe they want a bit of drama, they like some story. I think you can share a little bit. Yeah, maybe we don't need to disclose names
Yeah,
because
we
we don't want to
shouldn't disclose names.
Yeah, but maybe you can just share. Like, I'm sure you have a lot, and I'm so very curious to know because you deal with so many more creative clients than me. Because I also understand that creative, right? Like what I do is quant based, a lot of numbers, and I'm always behind the screen looking at numbers, and numbers cannot lie.
Yeah.
But creative, right? I may see like, oh, I like it. I like black. No, I don't like it black. You don't like it black. So how now? How do we both reach common ground to say, okay, let's do it gray? Like, are you gray? Okay, let's go with it. So maybe you can share one instance where, okay, there was a little bit of hiccup with this client or this project, but then end of the day, you managed to solve it.
Hiccups. I can think of a lot of instances where I hiccups and I feel like I will come to my solution as I talk about it. So I am currently on a project with I think you can call them MNC. They span across Asia. They are quite a name brand. I won't say what industry they are in because it kind of gives it away. As with all group structures, the owner of the group sits at the very top.
Okay.
Right? It's very rare that he will need the final say on a lot of stuff because you have the regional CEOs and MDs to handle a lot of it, right?
Okay.
This person is quite hands-on still. In some cases, I respect it because you are on the ground with your team. In other cases, it seems very micromanaging because it shows you can't trust your team. We were on a project. We are still on a project that was supposed to last 2.5 weeks. We're now on week 4, approaching week 5 of that same project. And the main hiccup was I don't think I've seen a more poorly structured group in my life. Okay. Every region has their own way of doing things. There's nothing consolidated. And this particular project required me to get in contact with, I think, all 8 regions across Asia to get certain deliverables from their side to put together into something else.
Okay.
Week 1, 7 whole days was dedicated to the acquisition of these assets, these deliverables. We managed to get about 50% of the deliverables come week 2. The other half never replied, ghosted, just didn't bother. It also showed there's this very distinct lack of synergy. Every region operated almost as if they're independent, not part of a group. Whereas this piece of work was for the entire group. It's like I would call it like a presentation, like an investor's presentation. And communication was at a pure minimal. My point of contact was trying so hard to contact all these group heads. It seemed like the entire message, the message chat, she was talking to herself. This went on for the next 3 weeks. I did whatever I could. I built like skeletons of the presentation. I tried to make life as easy as possible by saying, hey, there are gaps. These are the gaps and these are what I need from your regions to fill in these gaps. By then it was like I sent out 3 to maybe 4 drafts. Not including the internal drafts I would have with my PIC. Can you believe that no one looked at a single draft?
Wow.
Throughout that whole process, the only people that had eyes on my drafts were from this region, my PIC and my PIC's boss. Apparently, the big boss wanted to see it as well because it's for an investor's presentation. He is the one presenting. But he never said a word. Then came about draft 4. And this is after they actually... The reason why I said it was supposed to be about 2.5 to 3.5 weeks original due date was because they had an investors meeting. They pushed the investors meeting back. And when they push it, I have a feeling the big boss just went, okay, I got more time to chill. I don't need to look at it yet. And I understand that structure. Big boss maybe takes the last look at it. The big boss gave his comments on draft 4. He was supposed to give it, I think, 2 days ago. He promised to give it 2 days ago so that I could meet the deadline by amending. He gave it about a day before. Can't even really count it as a day before. He gave it at 2:25 a.m. on the day that it was supposed to go out. On the day that I was supposed to deliver FA. And it was a super long list of comments, basically asking me to restructure the video because he said it just doesn't seem like what he wanted. And that was when I felt very like cheated because a lot of the things can be solved in draft one. It's a lot of like changes to the flow. It's basically taking apart the video and reassembling it was what he wanted me to do. But it's not, that's an oversimplification. So obviously this came as a bit of a shock to me because I saw how long the document was. That's just a feedback and it's all very messy. It's not in order. It was just a mess. And I feel like the big boss also, his mind is very all over the place, which I don't really appreciate lah. No brief was clear. And then it became this giant game of, and I hate this term, it became this giant game of see how. Do a bit, see how, see if the boss like or not. Do a bit more, see how. If you don't like, change. And the only thing that didn't change was the deadline.
So you still may have to manage to send it on the same day?
I managed to send it with additional 6 hours.
Wow.
I sent it out yesterday. The new, the absolute limit of deadline is actually today, right now, as we speak.
Okay.
More feedback came in at about 11 today. And that feedback came from another party. The big boss was supposed to sign off on it. He didn't. So now there's this anxiety that he might not even like the changes that the other person made. But this is also, I guess this is the way to solve. Sometimes it's easier to find a common ground because you keep everyone happy. But sometimes the reality is you should piss someone off because they are being unreasonable. So I did say, I told them, any further changes will incur very high additional costs, which are charged at my discretion because I can't quantify for you, me, 2 hours of my time is how much, but I can tell you how much it sucks. And then I also told them there are actual time limit cut-offs with these things. I don't work after 6. I don't work on weekends. You give me, I have a big lead time if you give me on a Friday. I'm not touching it until at the very earliest Sunday night if I'm semangat. If I'm not, Monday morning. Learning how to draw your boundaries with clients was the biggest lesson I've learned thus far. And it's a cumulative lesson from being sometimes bullied, taken advantage of. After a while, you learn sometimes there's no such thing as compromise. Sometimes you have to protect yourself first.
Wow. So just to summarize, basically this client, they are actually like a multi-MNC company. They have they are in multiple regions. They reach out to you for video or production shoot, right?
I can't say what it is.
Okay, so you did that for them and then it's supposed to be a 4-week draft.
At the most 4 weeks.
At the most 4 weeks, but on the 4th week, they delay. There's multiple levels of hierarchy and as we know, corporations, see how, look at how, let's wait for the boss review and the boss has 101 things to do, or maybe he didn't really prioritize the work. So on the 1 day before the delivery date, he actually gave you his feedback.
Yeah.
And it was like a long, as usual, a very insanely long list of feedback, which takes days, if not weeks.
Thinking it could be done in a few hours.
Yeah. And I think towards the end, you decided to put your foot down and say hey, no, yes, we can do all this, but at additional cost because it's not within our contract.
Yeah. And it also helps with them being less see how about it.
Yeah.
Because I have a saying, people get very decisive when money is involved.
True. I think because, I used to run a creative agency. We used to have our group was quite huge. We have almost 80 plus people, right, at peak. This, especially in production, I think production has the largest invoice value. At the same time, takes the most shit. Because clients or even brands, right, they just love to change, love to alter things at their own will, and they don't really care about you one. They're just I feel I want to change. If not, I'll hold back your invoice.
Yeah.
I think that is where service providers like us, right, when we come down and we really put our foot down and say no, this is not agreed within the contract. If you want to change certain terms, there needs to be additional funds and reimbursement for it. I think that's what you did there was really good lah. I work with a lot of agencies, so they don't. They just, end of the day, they get taken for a ride by their clients or
Yeah.
by certain brands. Okay, that's very interesting.
Oh, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because you did mention that you used to run this agency. Do you feel like the reason why clients become so pushy is because they think a lot of money, they think they are paying a lot of money?
Yeah.
Then they feel like they can ask for
definitely.
anything under the
you see,
sun.
whenever whoever pays the money, right, wears the hat and sits on the higher chair on the table. So when you're sitting on that higher chair on the table, right, they look, okay, this is how I feel. Sometimes not all clients, don't get me wrong, not all brands, but some, they'll say that, oh, I'm the client here, you are the service provider, I'm paying you money, you should be able to do whatever I demand you to do. But sometimes, most of the time, they will take you for a ride and they'll take advantage of that.
Of the mere fact that they're paying you.
Yes, of the mere fact that they are paying you. So it's up to us, right? And it's up to us and service providers to actually put their foot down and say, no, you like this, draw a line, draw a boundary, like no, you cannot step over this boundary. Or else the entire year you'll just be working on this client. And then how are you going to move the needle? How are you going to feed your staff? How are you going to profit the company? That doesn't make sense. So that's why what you did is like something that I think a lot of other people should follow. Because I've seen time by time people really like beg and do whatever it takes, right, to please the client. And the client will never be happy.
Yeah.
But the clients will respect you more if you say, no, this, like you actually draw lines and boundaries. I think this is how the world works, like, you know. If you are always way too nice, right, and just give in all the time and don't know how to say no and don't have your own standards, right, everyone will take advantage of you.
Yeah. Because the world is not
The
everyone
world is
always
not
nice.
not the nicest place, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next question. In the world of marketing, maintaining strong client relationship is key, right? So how do you approach building and sustaining these relationships while ensuring team's creative integrity?
I think having good standing helps. So we start with maintaining the team's creative integrity. To maintain creative integrity, your work has to be of a certain creative value. And creative value is maybe not reusing the same scripts over and over again. You're displaying your know-how as a creative by sticking to the client brief, which you should do sometimes, most times, because at the end of the day, yes, they are paying you. They're giving you a brief. They have something they want from it. You stick to it, but you don't stick to it blindly.
Yeah.
If you stick to it blindly, there's no difference between the client doing it literally themselves and you doing it. They come to you for creative input. So that's where you should give your all. You do your research, you see what works best for their market. I guess in the terms of UGC, you see what works best in their market and you try to lift certain elements together and piece them together like a puzzle. So that's how you maintain your creative integrity. You also should explain to clients, even if they're disagreeing on something, or not disagreeing outright, but they feel a different way about a certain approach. Sometimes you can explain to them why you took this specific approach because you've already done your research. You're not firing blindly. If you were firing blindly, then you have lesser footing to stand on when all goes wrong. For example, if we test an ad now with AutoSeed from a concept that we saw from US, you had a lot of doubts about it. You say you don't really want to do it, but it's worth a shot. As with all ads, it's always worth a shot. The ad doesn't do well. Obviously, the client will point the finger straight at you, but you can show your research and say it performed very well in all these countries. It ran for 6 months. It became evergreen. So that's how you stand your ground, at least as a creative, by you show why you did it. Show your work. It's like math. In terms of your first question was how do you sustain the client relationships, right? Good customer service. I think in this day and age, especially for like UGC creation and social media content creation, almost anyone with a phone can do it for you. What can't they do that you can do, you have the capacity to do? That is your customer service. It's as simple as a jar of chips right now, his favorite chips during a podcast. Or it could be maybe something a little bit more in the gray area, replying after work hours if it's very urgent. Sometimes, unfortunately, there are urgent things to settle. If you can give your client the comfort and security by just responding to them, it doesn't even have to be an immediate fix. You can just be like, okay, we'll work on it first thing Monday. We acknowledge your message. We are seeing you in this time of your need and we are helping you out. That's another way. Good customer service is also trying to be as polite and as civil and as PR as possible with your clients, no matter what they ask. Because even if your client is being extremely rude to you, you don't have to be rude to them to get what you want. The more civil you are, technically, the higher you're standing in their eyes. You don't get emotional when they're displeased with something. You can show your displeasure through a very civil way. You don't have to shout back.
Yeah.
You become a bigger person. And then small things, delivering things on time, keeping to your word. And I think one thing that a lot of creatives don't like to do is admitting when they're wrong. When you can't make a shoot date, when you're going to be late on the deliverables, instead of telling them on the day of the deadline and say, I'm going to be late, you tell them 3 days in advance, I have another deadline I need to cover. Is it possible to request an extension? You find a way to make up for it. And then, like all services, it's nice to get small things within your abilities for free. Sometimes you throw in like, okay, I'll do like one extra hook for you.
Yeah.
And then if you just say that on face value, they might not see why. But you tell them, by giving you one more hook, you have one more ad creative to run for your A/B testing, which doubles your chances at the ad doing well. Suddenly, that one free thing that literally takes the creative team maybe 5 to 10 minutes to do, gives them so much value and they'll be more appreciative of it.
Yeah, so I think to summarize, basically communicate very flawlessly and then go the extra mile, an extra mile, give extra added value.
Within your abilities.
Yeah, within your means, right? Don't like go over and like make a loss or something, right? And last but not least, be on time, be as prompt as you can. Okay, I think those are really good answers. So now I think we're going to like the last segment. So the last segment is more on the work that you have done and like what services that you offer. So I call this the production segment. So the question would be, we know nowadays like me myself, I spend a couple of hours a day researching on reels, like watching TikTok. So short form videos are like growing immensely popular these days, right? And what are the unique challenges and opportunities you encounter when producing this kind of content? Because you produce so many UGC, what are some of the challenges at the same time opportunities that you encounter while doing this?
The biggest challenge of doing a UGC is to make it look like a UGC. Beyond just shooting it on an iPhone, there's so many nuances that go into making it look like user-generated content, not agency-generated content. And that line is so hard to straddle because as a production team, we like organization, we like structure. Things like this make our day go by faster. It makes the editor's life easier. It makes whoever who's shooting the content's life easier. Too much structure makes the video look structured. It makes it look templated to a certain point. If every video you put out talks about a very similar pain point, has a very similar visual for a hook, and has a very similar way it goes into the USPs, it will start to look repetitive. But if you find creative ways to go about your hooks and creative ways to talk about your pain points, softer sells, that actually sometimes does better. The challenge is it's not always easy to find a soft sell, and not all clients are on board with a soft sell.
So basically try to find the imperfect balance in creating a video. Don't make it too perfect, don't make it too trash, try to find the middle balance.
Yeah, even the style of editing, right? One thing I've realized is, and this is something I'm still actively trying to fix, because we at the end of the day, if you are good at editing, your edits would be fairly good. There will be a certain level of quality it is impossible to dip under. I think this is a good time to introduce a client. You will know this client. I will not say who. But they have a very specific editing style. It's called as shit as possible, as raw as possible. Usually when we edit, we want to make the video short also. So if the talent is talking and they stutter or they repeat a sentence, we will cut that part out straight away, no questions asked. This client, I don't believe you're working with them anymore. This client prefers if it was left in, adding maybe a 5 to 10 second chunk in the video where the talent is just not speaking well.
Oh, okay.
And they like their editing brief was as minimal cuts as possible, which I understand. It makes it look very homemade. Those are hard because it's like asking a really like Michelin star chef to be like, you cook me McDonald's, I want it to taste like McDonald's level.
Yeah.
I don't want it to taste any better. So that is also a struggle that we run into.
Interesting.
Like deliberately making the quality go down. Just for ad performance. Sometimes it does perform, and that's when I'll eat my words. Fair enough. Sometimes it doesn't, and it makes our lives harder, because if we are still having to shoot it, and then the talent starter there, and we don't have to do another take, we'll be very confused, and the editor will be very confused as well. He was like, "Is this the only one you guys have? It's quite bad, the take." But I was like, "Oh no, client said to use and just leave the whole thing in. Don't even cut it out." Oddly enough, that same client, of whose name I won't name, but they have started to shoot without scripts.
Oh, okay.
So to be honest, we script our UGCs. We script our UGCs so there is a general flow to the video, and we won't overextend. Like, we won't spend a solid 2 hours shooting just the pain points. That is a waste of time when we're only going to need 5 seconds of footage. So this client preferred to do it without a script and feed the talents the line on the day. And what this led to was like too much experimenting on the day, which leads to a lot of time being wasted. And I've heard, ever since I stopped working with them, I still let them use my talent procurement. The talent procurement doesn't like working with them anymore because his talents don't like working with them. Imagine just showing up, not being given a script, and just say, okay, you just sit here, I will tell you what to say, or you just say what comes from your heart. But there's a wrong answer. If you say what comes from your heart and there's no wrong answer, that's fair. But imagine you say what's from your heart, you react to the moment, and you're like, oh no, that's not what I want.
So basically, they want it to be raw, but they want it to be scripted raw, which doesn't make sense. And then the talent themselves need to guess what the founders want. Okay, but back to the I totally get what you mean. Like, back to the part, right, where you said, like, okay, imagine you are like a Michelin star chef, but you're actually cooking McDonald's. Don't you think that your skill set, right, as a creative, right, is actually not put to its full potential?
Yeah.
Why have you not branched out to do more commercial, do more high production work? Like, as you can see here, all the cameras here are really high quality grade. The lighting, when I come into the studio, I'm like, wow, I know if I were to hire you or your team to do commercial grade production, I know it's going to be freaking good. But brands who want to do UGC won't really appreciate the kind of things that you have over here, right? So what makes you not want to go all in on commercial, but still say, let me dabble in some UGC?
I think above all, it's recurring income, because UGCs are generally retainers. So you will get the amount you desire every month. The work is generally less creatively fulfilling, but it also is, in general, way less stress. It's not to say I hate commercial production. I actually love production. There's so many facets of it that I love to be a part of. Like, I'm a colorist, so sometimes I get brought on just to do color. Sometimes I direct. That's a bigger hat that I have to wear sometimes, but very stressful. Sometimes I DOP, which means I shoot the production. Those are always fun, but it puts you in a place of high risk, high return, but high risk. The entire thing falls on you and your decisions. Same with being a director. If you're a colorist, it's still quite chill, because you're at the end of the line already. You're just making it look pretty. With UGCs, because at the end of the day, a lot of UGCs run off a very similar framework. It's not exactly a template, but there are certain talking points to be hit. Once you get used to that, it kind of runs on its own like a well-oiled machine, which means your revenue stream runs like a well-oiled machine. Of course, production, like you said, the checks are much bigger. You stand to earn more. But because those checks are much bigger, there's so much more on the line on a mistake.
So basically, doing UGC retainer clients, right, is safer, and then it's more consistent. Yes, the invoice value is much smaller. On the other hand, doing commercials or doing high production value, there's so many more factors involved, right? There's more people, more camera, more crew, more everything, right? And of course, the entire process of getting the entire invoice paid to you is a longer and more tedious process. So hence, why you have dabbled more into like doing user-generated content over full-blown commercial agency.
I think it's also because I'm not doing this alone. I have a team to feed. And when you have a team to feed, your cash flow becomes the most important thing.
For sure.
Whether or not you can pay off everyone by the end of the month. If you're doing this alone, you can jump ship, you can jump sectors of the industry very easily. You can go into commercial if you don't like UGC. Just say goodbye to all your clients. I'm going into commercials. Then you do one project a month that will sustain. But that one project a month won't be paid by the end of that month. There's a chance. The remainder might be paid in 3 months, depending on your payment term. So that puts you at risk as well. But it's comforting at that point, if you're a solo, that risk is only borne by you. It's not shared by your team.
So what's your, as a agency owner, right, where you run your own creative agency, or what's your end goal? So yeah, I mean, I know you started this agency for almost 2 years now, like 1 year solopreneur, then another year full on. This will be your 3rd year, right, officially. What's your like game plan? Like what do you want to achieve? Could it be monetary? Could it be legacy?
I think my goals always change. At the start of this year, what I really wanted to do was I want to control the e-commerce market in Malaysia. I want as many e-commerce brands to do UGCs with me as possible. I think that has changed now. I want to do... My goal is to have as little clients as possible, but delivering the highest quality work in the medium which is supposed to be delivered. Meaning if we do UGCs, we do UGCs for maybe only 3 clients a month. We can still operate on a retainer basis, but those UGCs will be better than everything else that's out there. Same for commercials. I don't want to take on so much on my plate, but whatever I do, I want to make it excellent. It also makes you become more desirable because people will start to know your client pool is limited, your capacity is limited. But it also gives you the Midas touch because whatever you do, whatever you put your mind to, and when you say yes to a client, the client can already have the expectation that whatever I'm getting is going to be good.
I get what I mean. So basically what you're trying to say was last year or the year before, you were focusing more on, like, your goal was quantity over quality in a way. You're focusing more on quantity. You want to tapao, you want to whack the entire Malaysian market in terms of e-commerce brands, right?
Yeah.
Then this year you pivoted more to like quality over quantity. I think that is something that I think both of us learned, because before this I was always the numbers guy. I love volume. I was like, I want to do 100 clients, 200 clients and all that. But one thing, right, that would lack or would fall off is stickiness. Especially in our line, right? Because what's the point, right? If we get 10 clients, but our stickiness rate is only 10%.
Yeah.
Means every single month 9 clients fall off. Yes, and let's say we get paid more. But what's the point, Like you always have to be hunting for new clients. And in Malaysia, right, the pool or the niche that you're in, right, it's just only so smart, so big. So I think moving more to the quantity route, right? The quality route is much better. Because that way, like you said, the minor starts, right? Which something also I just recently experienced. You can charge higher.
Yeah.
Over time, right, people will see like, wow, shit, to work with you, you only have like so few clienteles, can I be on your waiting list? That way, one video could go up from like 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000, eventually to more. And then because you know that people in the market know that if I were to hire you or engage with you, it definitely will work. Yeah, I think that's definitely the game to go. I think if every brand out there, right, or most client service, right, I think that's the way to go. Because I've worked with I have also seen a lot of friends in the agencies who do volume, they charge damn cheap, but their quality is shit. And they can't retain any clients. I think we both can agree that retention is key.
Yeah. If you do quantity over quality, over time the creatives working with you or for you will start to hate what they do. Because it's just, okay, this is done, what's next? Just pump it out like a factory. The client will start resenting the work, and that's why your stickiness is lower. But then at the same time, the agency will be you get what you paid for, bro. You're paying very little, you deserve very little. Yep. The relationship is never harmonious. No one is satisfied. If you're doing quality, the creatives can say, I'm so proud of this. The client can say, it looks amazing, and it's harmonious. Yes, it costs a bit more to do it, but when you look at the quality, what I always want people to realize is when they see the work that we do, especially when I'm writing you a very big invoice, you see where all that money actually went to.
Yeah.
Not just thinking like, it's going to go into his pocket lah. Every camera is the same. Sure, on the iPhone also can. Like the common statements at least that I hear in my industry. Like I think you've heard it also. when people tell you, I can do that too.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
yeah.
definitely, right? Like, clients or people just love to say something. People say, you charge this price, you just take a phone and shoot me.
Yeah,
I also
the
can do
just
mah."
word, right?
Yeah, it's like, just, in my mind, like, yeah, if you can do it, why don't you just do it yourself?
Yeah, right.
Why do you need me? Like, people always like to say things to make themselves feel better. That's why that's what the entire, what is society about lah. You know, because they feel like, the price I pay you doesn't justify your worth. But if you focus more on quality, you will rarely get that. People will feel like, because right, it's more like a game of psychology. I love psychological games. So it's basically who have the, okay, I know this sounds, people will feel, oh, you're very manipulative and all that. It's not. It's psychology. Imagine the client needs you more, like just like you tell me the story about MNC and all that, because you see, what I get from listening to you, right, is people just feel like, I don't have you, so I'm not at loss. But if they can feel that, shit, I need you more than you need me, I must appreciate you. So similarly, like, that is why I tie certain bonds. Like I create a formation with yourself, who does UGC, with Darren, who does email, myself, with my agency does paid performance marketing. With three of us, when we go to meet a client, we go in together, we pitch. Very likely we'll get a deal. And when we get a deal, 1 out of 10 times we meet a bad client, and the client gives us a ton of shit. Like, hey, the video's shit. Hey, your performance, right? I want 10x ROAS, you give me 2. Or hey, your email is not converting. Then I said, fine, I leave. Then we all leave together.
Yeah.
And then the majority of the time, right, the client would, the brand would usually not work out because the client is not in the right mindset, or the brand owner is not in the right mindset to succeed. Right. So I think it's very important to have some sort of leverage whenever you enter deals.
I like this all or nothing policy that you have. I agree with it as well. It's, you give all or nothing, because we will give all or we give nothing. The client should be reciprocative of that as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think I take the all or nothing thing in everything I do lah. Like, whenever I do business, right, it's like, okay, I go all in or I don't do it at all. Because before this, right, I used to have like what? Before I knew you, right, I think I told you this before, I had 8 Sendirian Berhad to my name, man. Like, I was spread thin as shit. Then this year, I only went all in on 2 businesses. My product business, opposite, where we have like 30 to 40 employees now. We have about 5 to 6 stores regionally, and yeah, like my team, I really focus on strengthening the team, improving product market fit. At the same time, I have my agency where I give my clients my all. So I think, and people may feel, Shaun, you have like a product business and you're doing quite well and all that, you're hitting like 8 figures. Why are you even bothering with agency? Why do you want to work for clients? But I feel like it's something that I'm very passionate in. You know, I just love meeting people like yourself, like clients, meeting people. You know, I be their friend first, and then later I be their client. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that lah. You know, so I even like friends, relationship, girlfriend or family, it's like either I like you or I just like I don't really want to even be around you at all. So like that's an all or nothing thing.
Yeah. I think that's a good policy to have.
Yeah, I think it's a really good values to have in life. So maybe one last question on the production side before we wrap it up is, how has tech and AI affected your work, or not just affected, improve your work in anyhow? Maybe you can share some cool tips.
I can name drop a few specific kinds of AI.
Okay, let's go.
So, I forgot where I think we got this from a deck that was sent to us by a client. Hemingway.ai is a tool that helps you examine your vocabulary. Sometimes people always think, I want to hit as high of a score on Hemingway as possible.
Hemingway.
Yeah, like Ernest Hemingway, the writer. I think it was named after him. So what we would do is we would put in a script. Some people, I guess, they want to sound damn bombastic, damn god tier. They want to hit a number 5 on Hemingway, a high score. We use it like once in a while when we are unsure of how to write, especially in the start when we started writing UGC scripts. The thing about UGC is they should be as simple to understand as possible, right? So the masses, it's for the masses, which means that anyone with any level of proficiency should be able to understand it. So Hemingway, we try to hit a 2. If it's above a 2, we dumb it down. If it's a 1, obviously write it up lah. So that's Hemingway AI.
So basically, the lower the score,
the simpler the English
higher the
sounds.
score, the more complex it is.
Yeah, the more like well spoken.
Okay, so it's
it
1 to
becomes. I don't know if it's 1 to 10. I forgot already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But yeah, so that's Hemingway AI. After that, ChatGPT. I think at the start we were using ChatGPT to write some scripts, just to give us like, okay, my general ethos on AI, right? Before I move on, is AIs are perfect for your first draft. The AI helps you do that first layer of thinking, just to get your concept out of the way. After that, you refine with a human. You keep refining. You can refine with a human plus AI, but that's when the human comes in.
Yes.
So ChatGPT gives us our first draft for script sometimes. But this was maybe back in the day before we started delving outside of ChatGPT. We also have to do our own research. It's the due diligence that your client is due. So we would get ChatGPT to say, we'll tell ChatGPT, okay, we have this product, for example, like it's an ergonomic chair, it has these few features, write a script. Sometimes the scripts come out a bit generic, but what is the goal there is the way they're presenting the USPs, the way the USPs maybe integrate seamlessly into the video. Instead of becoming like a salesman, it's like, did you know this chair has this? You paint small scenarios, you'd be like, my back has scoliosis, that's why this feature becomes very handy. My waist sometimes hurt when I sit for very long, I cannot sit very straight. That's why this feature becomes very useful, rather than you just give a list. So that's ChatGPT. One new one is, what's it called? Photoshop Generative Fill. It's in a Photoshop beta. I don't know if they're calling it Firefly. I think they are calling it Firefly, Adobe Firefly. Adobe Firefly is amazing because it helps you create words from prompts, because all these are built on the GPT-4 system, so it's all prompt based. That's why there's a new job called prompt engineers now. You just need to find a good way to word what you want the AI to do, right? So you write a prompt, a sunny day on a beach, a woman stands in the middle. Boom, 4 or 3 different versions of that for you to choose from. Or you give it an image, you crop out the middle. I don't really like the bottle there, change it to a glass. Change. While it may look rough around the edges, imagine how useful this will be when you're doing a storyboard. Maybe clients say, I want it to be like a dystopian city. Like just think like cyberpunk or that, they're giving you reference, but you want to put it into a storyboard. You want to have the client's brand colors in mind. Maybe all your references is neon pink and blue, but then your client's brand colors is green. Yes, you can put it in the Photoshop, you change the color, then you put that as the first frame of your storyboard. Or you just select the whole thing, you tell ChatGPT, change this to a dystopian neon green. Boom.
So basically, like the future is, instead of being very skillful in like Photoshop or AI, like Adobe Illustrator, you just need to learn how to be very good with your prompts.
Yes.
And then you can just spit out certain kind of designs that. So to summary, there will be 3 lah. So there will be the Hemingway. There's ChatGPT. You need to learn about the prompts, and then last one will be the Firefly AI.
Actually, there's one more.
Okay.
So it's Adobe's podcast AI.
Okay.
It has honestly it's very impressive. It's
So
not.
are you going to use this for this podcast?
No, I think these are dialed in. It's fine.
Okay.
But if let's say you shot audio on a phone and you really want to clean it up, this AI actually helps you clean up the audio to an almost magical degree. I've seen reviews of it done by audio engineers who feel like it's a bit bad, but to the average layperson, if you just do a talking head, right, a UGC, and you feel like, oh, my audio sounds very muffled, too much background noise, you just take that clip, you drop it into, it's free by the way, into Adobe's free podcast AI session. It cleans up the audio for you.
Wow.
And we've used it on a lot of our ads. But it's likely that no one has ever noticed because that's the point. No one is supposed to notice.
Are all these ads free?
Photoshop beta, you need a subscription to at least Photoshop to have it. ChatGPT is free, Hemingway is free. There's paid tiers to all, but you don't need.
Yeah.
Adobe Podcast is free for now. Yeah. It still says beta, that's why it's free for now. But going back to what you said, I think being a very good prompt engineer is definitely a very good skill set. But beyond that, because the one thing that AIs still lack is fine-tune and customizability. Like for example, there's this new AI called Opus. Opus helps you, like let's say we're recording this podcast, we upload it on YouTube. I can send a YouTube link to Opus and it will cut out adapted versions for social media and give them a virality score. So a 95 virality score means the AI decides that that kind of clip with that kind of style will go viral. That's amazing. But what happens if the client wants to change the text color? What happens if the client wants to change the font? So that's where humans still have to step in.
So you don't actually think that in the next few years or decade or so, right, that AI will actually take over creatives?
I don't think it will take over because a robot is unable to be creative.
Yeah.
The human can. Maybe we all just change more to become, instead of using like action-based tools, we turn into more prompt-based tools. More tools will just require prompts. But as creatives, we know what to say.
I believe that it will improve the productivity and efficiency of creative rather than worsening off.
I don't think it will destroy the job altogether.
I think there are always people who are very optimistic and they're always pessimistic. Depends how you look at it. I'm always optimistic. I always feel like if I'm a creative, I'm you. I will use all these tools, Hemingway, Opus AI, Photoshop AI, Podcast AI to actually improve my entire workflow. Why not, right?
Yeah, because efficiency is what everyone strives for. It makes your life a bit easier. You don't want, man?
Okay, I think we covered quite a lot. So, one last thing. So this is more on yourself. What are some values, right, or principles that you have held onto despite having a challenging landscape? Like, despite going to law school, having a UGC agency, doing commercial, being yourself as a person, what are some values that you still hold dear to yourself despite all these landscapes?
First and foremost, I am a strong believer of the phrase, if you're not going to do it properly, just don't do it at all. Like it's like your all or nothing thing. I fully believe in that because if you're going to half-ass it anyway, you're not going to be happy doing it. The person's not going to be happy receiving it. No one's going to be happy. So fuck it, don't do it. And the other thing is, passion drives your career. But passion, unfortunately, is not what will feed you and put money on the table. That comes with how you run your passion, not your over passion. You could be damn passionate about a low paying job, but if you keep taking low paying jobs, you're never going to feed yourself. You're never going to feed the people around you. That's the second one. And then, I guess the third one, understanding that life is shit. Like, life is generally sucky. What makes it less sucky is how you deal with the suck. On a day-to-day, it's very unlikely that you will have a perfect day. I don't think there's such a thing. And I don't think that will ever happen to anyone. You have a perfect day from day to night. But how you handle those moments where it's not so good, ripple effect into how you think about the rest of your day. Whether you want to think of it as like a 90% day or because a 5% mishap happened, you reduce your outlook of your day to 30%. I fully believe that the way we react to things contributes a lot to the way we view our life.
For sure.
So, especially when you're running your own business, honestly, every day got one form of stress one.
Yeah.
There is very rarely a day that is dull. And when we have dull days, as I feel like I can speak on your behalf as well, when you have a dull day, right, when not much happens, you feel quite good. Like, you're nice that everything is stable.
I believe that on the last point, right, I believe that to me, I feel life is meant to be live happily. Yes, right now, my phone, I don't know where is it, there could be a fire, like basically in my businesses or something that could be happen. But yes, after this podcast, I'll be standing up, I'll be messaging my team, messaging my staff, talking to my friends or family or girlfriend or whatnot, right? There could be issues that I need to resolve. But some people, it depends how you look at certain problems, Like, okay, this situation is shit now, we need to solve it. But after I solve that situation, do I still make myself feel down, make myself feel sad or like pout over it? Or I just move on? That situation has had to happen. Now I'm happy again. I'm just continuing going, driving, maybe going to the gym, doing something that I actually enjoy. So yeah, I believe that life is how you choose out of it. Yeah. It's basically, if you choose your life to be sad, you're sad. If you choose life to live happily, it is happy. Like, I love doing these things, like talking to you. It makes me very happy. Yes, but later, like I said, if I go something wrong on my phone, I may be a little bit down. But after that, I won't translate that mood to you and like, hey, TJ, I'm having a shit day, so you should have a shit day too. Yeah. Okay. So I think what I would like to do before we end, maybe this is something like perhaps a ritual, is perhaps you can just leave one question so that I can ask my next guest. Could be anything.
Oh,
Could be anything. Like you don't know who's
I don't know who's your next guest though.
You don't need to know. It could be a CEO of a big company. It could be just a very high, like a profession somewhere. It could be anything. But just leave a question that you yourself like the answer to, or you have always asked yourself. Anything, could be anything. Just go.
Okay, because I know the rough demographic of people that you will want to interview and that you potentially
I might just pivot and interview different people.
I feel like this is something that I always want to know, because everyone leads very different lives, so it's very interesting to me. It's a 2-part question.
Okay, let's go.
In fact, if you want, you can answer yours also.
Sure.
Tell me the worst part of every day and the best part of every day.
So basically, tell me the worst part of every
Like
day.
you absolutely hate it one. And then the best part.
I think the worst part of every day would be, wow. Let's start with good lah, okay? Because I think I'm a much optimistic person. I always look at. I think the best part of every day is being able to wake up. To me, because
Like the fact that you're alive.
yeah, the fact that you're alive is insane. Like how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of people are dying, every single day. But the fact that you close your eyes, you wake up, and it's a new day, and you can do things, whatever you want. You want to do good deeds, you can do good deeds. You want to do bad things, you do bad things. You want to scale your business 10 times, you can work on your business. Whatever you want to exercise, just exercise. So to me, waking up, being able to do what I love every single day, having the freedom is the best thing ever lah. And I think the worst part for me, wow.
It can be a relative thing, meaning the least happy thing of the day. Something you just don't you know things that you don't have to do it, but you don't want to do it, but you have to do it.
Yeah. I think to me would be a lot of like administrative work. So even though, like I think we both know, right, like as CEOs or as directors of companies, right, you need to do a lot of administrative work, paperwork, documents, like, you need to make sure that employees get paid, KWSP, all this kind of stuff, right? I really feel that it's, to me, okay, it's important to get it done, but me doing it is very mundane. Like even to the slightest of setting my own calendars or replying my own emails, right? So I feel that it's take up a lot of my time, but I spend the most time doing it. I spend a buttload of time doing administrative work, and I actually dislike doing it a lot. So if there's anyone out there who's listening to this podcast and wants to work with me as
A PA
or marketing assistant, I would be more than happy to actually interview you and see if you guys are fit.
The job scope he just described already. You reply his emails, you set his calendar.
But you guys will be following me around. You guys will be working a lot on like marketing and everything else, not just PA lah.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I think to summarize, the happiest moment is when I wake up, and the most sian or dull moment is when I have to do administrative work. Yeah, so I think that's all. I'd like to just wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me on this first ever episode, TJ.
Thank you for having me.
I hope the viewers and everyone at home watching or in the car or wherever you're watching gain some sort of knowledge out of it, especially in the world of creative production and also the agency. So I'll be posting up this content all over social media. If you guys have any questions you want to ask, whether me or TJ, you just drop a comment below, right? We'll just answer whenever we see them. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye-bye.